Imagine you suddenly have an entirely free day. What do you do with it? Grind on a side hustle? Hit the gym? Or doom scroll for 6 hours? With infinite options and no framework for living, deciding which choice actually leads to a good life is paralyzing. We typically treat happiness as a biological reward, a brief spike of dopamine. This chemical spark arrives instantly and fades away just as fast, leaving us searching for the next hit. 2,000 years ago, the philosopher Aristotle looked at this exact problem. In his Nicomachean Ethics, he set out to define the specific mechanics of the ideal human life. He called this state eudaimonia. While often translated as happiness, a more accurate word is flourishing. This describes a rigorous, rational activity that you must actively execute. Treating joy as a momentary prize you win creates a cycle of constant chasing. True human flourishing requires a structural framework to build your choices upon, a concrete method for organizing your years. Before you can focus on reaching your potential, you have to secure the basics. Aristotle was a pragmatist. He argued that you need external and bodily goods, things like decent health, a safe place to live, and enough money that you aren't constantly stressed about surviving. This put him at odds with the ancient Stoics, who argued that a strong internal mindset was enough to guarantee a good life, regardless of circumstance. Aristotle disagreed. You cannot play a noble part in the world if you are starving, broke, or isolated. Once those basic needs are met, you can start applying his behavioral framework. He called this operational system virtue. Virtue is finding the exact midpoint between excess and deficiency. Courage exists between a reckless fool and a coward. This midpoint changes based on who you are. Work that sits an entrepreneur might be disastrous for a parent. Finding your mean requires rational calculation. Living virtuously is a process of precise calibration. By avoiding the self-destruction of both extremes, you free up the necessary energy to reach your true capacity. Even with perfectly calibrated habits, you cannot reach this state alone. Aristotle argued that we are social creatures, making it philosophically impossible to achieve eudaimonia in isolation. But not all connections are equal. Friendships based on utility, like a helpful coworker, or pleasure, like a drinking buddy, are fragile. The moment the job changes or the hobby gets boring, the connection dissolves. The best life requires what he called a friendship of virtue. You only need a very small number of these people. They share your values, challenge your reasoning, and act as a mirror to your own character over an entire lifetime. With your basics secured and your peers chosen, you arrive at the ergon. This is the unique function of a human being. Because our rationality sets us apart from animals, Aristotle decided the greatest thing a person could do was spend time in contemplation. However, applying his own logic today reveals a limitation in that narrow definition. If Tom Brady followed Aristotle's exact advice, he would spend his peak years sitting under a tree contemplating the nature of the universe. Forcing an elite athlete away from the field to read philosophy would waste their actual potential. A better modern translation of the ergon is using your rational mind to figure out exactly what makes you uniquely exceptional, and then doing it. The goal is using your intellect to push your specific talents excellently, entirely for their own sake, while surrounded by a few virtuous peers. We can pull these ancient concepts down to earth and build a system for managing our free time. Step 1 is aggressive prioritization. If you lack the essential basics, if you aren't sleeping, you're deeply in debt, or you're stuck in toxic environments, you must dedicate every spare hour to fixing those deficits, until the pain of lacking them is gone. Once those lower foundation levels are stable, step 2 kicks in. You pour all remaining free time into activities of the soul, pushing unique talents to their limit. This framework redefines rest. Scrolling online is medicine taken to cure work fatigue. Use it to recharge, then get right back to your purpose. Flourishing is the continuous, lifelong maintenance of these priorities. You sustain the effort day after day, rather than hitting a single finish line. In the end, flourishing is a result of a simple calculation: maximizing the percentage of your waking hours spent executing virtuous activities excellently, and maintaining that effort over the span of a complete life.